There are two types of lags that are relevant to the policy that we've been talking about. There's the inside and the outside lags. Inside lags are how long does it take for us to recognize that there's been a disturbance, say to the economy, a demand disturbance. So to recognize there's a problem, then to make a decision, and then to implement an action. The decision making can take quite a while, and we see particularly so with fiscal policy, to get parliamentarians together and to agree on an action. And then again, often you need legislation for that. So we find that your inside lag, this recognition, decision and action that needs to take place, the inside lag is longer for fiscal policy than it typically is for monetary policy. The Monetary Policy Committee meets fairly regularly, every couple of months, and they can make a decision quite rapidly, and they can change the repo rate very quickly. However, they both then take different amounts of time to affect the economy. So the outside lag is how long does this action that you've decided on take to actually affect the economy. So the outside lag is actually shorter for fiscal policy because that impacts the goods market directly, whereas monetary policy has to work via the money market first. So this lag is shorter for fiscal policy than monetary policy, so it's the opposite there. But these are relevant when you want to consider whether you're going to react to a particular demand disturbance to your economy. The other thing that some of you may battle with is dynamic inconsistency. And this notion is that what a policymaker says may be inconsistent with what actually happens. So we may start off at a point like A, where we on our short-run Phillips curve, but we're actually at your full employment level. We're at the natural rate of unemployment. Remember, there's always some unemployment in your economy, but we're at the natural rate, and they announced that there's going to be zero inflation. So there we are over at this point. However, it may be in the best short-term interests of a particular policymaker, maybe he's trying to influence a vote, etc., but it may be possible for them to say, okay, for a little bit more inflation, we can lower the unemployment rate. So they lower unemployment, and people are kind of prepared to put up with a little bit more inflation because inflation was very low. And we move to point B. And whilst that may not be significantly, it may not harm people significantly in the short term, what's going to happen in the long run? At B, remember that previously it was announced there was going to be zero inflation. However, inflation expectations are going to adjust now because people realize that inflation's been higher than they anticipated. And we draw a Phillips curve holding constant a given level of inflation expectation. And when that changes, your whole Phillips curve is going to shift. So we see here that your Phillips curve is going to shift to the right as inflation expectations adjust. And in the long run, we'll return to position like C, where we've got the same natural rate, it's the natural rate of unemployment that we had before. So we haven't got any lower level of unemployment. But we now have to put up with a situation of a higher inflation. So we certainly aren't better off as a result. So it shows you how, in the short run, a policymaker can move the economy towards a position that's not in the best long-term interests of that economy.